Hi, it's English time with me, your teacher Ricel. To start our class, let us have a short warm-up. This activity is entitled Thinking Out Loud. All you have to do is to think out loud and share your thoughts to complete the dialogues. Are you ready? If I only had lots of money, I would... What would you do if you had lots of money? Try to complete the statement. Great! I would love that too. Next, how about this one? If I had a chance to meet President Duterte, What would you do if you had a chance to meet our president? Wow, that's a nice answer. Now, what can you say about these statements or dialogues? What do they want to express? Yes, you are right. They are presenting conditions. Conditions like, if you had lots of money, you can do whatever you like. And if you had a chance to meet the president, you can tell him what's on your mind. Very good analyzation. In this lesson, we will be discussing conditionals. But before that, these are our lesson objectives. 1. To identify the different types and ways in writing conditionals. And 2. Use conditionals in expressing arguments. So, for you to use conditionals in expressing argument, let us first familiarize ourselves with conditionals. What are conditionals? Conditionals are statements expressing the result of a particular condition. It tells us the result of a condition. A condition is defined as something that you must do or a situation that must exist in order for something else to happen. So meaning, conditional sentence is used to talk about a result that may happen only if a condition happens first. This type of sentence is divided into two parts. The first part is the condition. It is presented with the if or when clause. A condition is usually introduced with the words if or when. These are subordinate conjunctions that makes it a dependent clause. The second part is the result, presented by the main clause, so it is an independent clause. As a review, what is a clause? Clause is a group of words that includes a subject and a verb. It has two types, the independent clause and the dependent clause. The independent clause has a subject and a verb. It has a complete thought, and it can stand alone as a sentence. On the other hand, dependent clause has a subject and a verb too, but it does not express a complete thought, and it cannot stand alone as a sentence. Dependent clause is usually introduced by signal words, like the subordinating conjunctions if or when. To further understand this, let's take a look at this example of a conditional sentence. If I don't answer my activities, I will get failing grades. This conditional sentence is divided into two parts. The first part is the if clause. If I don't answer my activities is our condition. This is the situation or event that needs to be met, done in order for the result to happen. This is a dependent clause because it can stand on its own. And on the other half, I will get failing grades is the result of the condition. So, this is the main clause or the independent clause that can stand alone as a sentence. Usually, it is written this way. The condition is presented first, then followed by the result. But it can also be written this way. The result is presented first, then followed by the condition. I will get failing grades if I don't answer my activities. The idea or meaning remains the same. Just remember, when we write conditional sentence, we divide the two with a comma. When the condition is presented first, followed by the result. However, when we interchange their positions and presented the result first, we must delete the comma. Let us have another example. When you pray, God listens. Again, we have two parts here, divided by a comma. The first part is the condition that is presented with the when clause. When you pray. This is the situation that needs to be met in order for the result to happen. This is a dependent clause because it can stand on its own. And the other half, God listens, is the result of the condition. So, this is the main clause or the independent clause that can stand alone as a sentence. It can also be written this way. God listens when you pray. The idea remains the same. We delete the comma when we interchange their positions. Moving on, conditional sentence has different types. 0, first, second, and third. Let us discuss them one by one. The first type is zero conditionals. It deals with the habits and general truths or facts such as laws. These are the things that we don't need to argue about because we know that they are true or fact in general. Zero conditional is formed using this structure. First part, the signal words if or when plus a simple present verb to form the dependent clause in expressing the condition. Then, for the second part, the result, we will use also a simple present verb in the main clause. But, how do we form the simple present tense of the verb? Here is a quick review. For singular subjects, just add s or es at the end of the verb. For plural subjects, use the base form of the verb. The subject and the verb must agree with each other. Look at the table. The subjects here are pronouns. For he, she, it, singular pronouns, just add s to the verb to form its simple present. He, she, it buys, reads, thinks, comes, eats. I and you, those singular subjects, they will take the base form of the verb without s because they are exempted to the rule. They are plural in form but singular in meaning. I and you, buy, read, think, come, eat. For plural pronouns, we have we and they. We use the base form of the verb without s to form its simple present. We and they buy, read, think, come, and eat. Again, for singular subjects, we add s or es to the end of the verb to form its simple present. For plural subjects, we just use this base form of the verb to form its simple present. I hope you got it. Now, let us have an example for zero conditional. Try to analyze the meaning and the structure of the example sentence. If you put ice on it, the water becomes cold. The water becomes cold if you put ice on it. We have two parts here on the sentence. First part is, if you put ice on it, which is the condition, it uses the signal word if in the clause, and we use simple present verb put. The second part is, the water becomes cold, which is the result. We use the simple present verb becomes. because the subject is singular, water. This is zero conditional because it talks about general truth that ice can make a water cold, and it tells us the result of the condition, that if you put ice on it, the water becomes cold, or vice versa. The water becomes cold if you put ice on it. We did not use comma to separate the parts when we interchange their positions. Let us have another example. When you heat the candle, it melts. It melts when you heat the candle. Again, we have two parts here. First is when you heat the candle, which is the condition. It uses the signal word when in the clause, and we use the simple present verb heat. Second part is it melts, which is the result. We use the simple present verb melts because the subject is singular, it. This is zero conditional because it talks about general truth. The candle will melt if heated, and it tells us the result of the condition, that when you heat the candle, it melts, or vice versa. Again, we do not use comma to separate the parts when we interchange the positions of the condition and result in the sentence. Did you get it? Now, it's time for you to give your own sentence. Nice job! You did it! The second type is the first conditional. First conditional is used in dealing with things that are possibly or likely to happen in the future. We use this type if we want to express a condition that has a high possibility of happening in the future. It is formed using this structure. The first part, the signal words if or when to form the dependent clause, plus a simple present tense of the verb to express the condition. Aside from if or when, we may also use unless, as long as soon as, or in case for the dependent clause. Then for the second part, the result, we will use a simple future tense verb for the main clause, since we are talking about possibility of happening in the future. Now, how do we form the simple future tense of the verb? Simple future tense talks about things that haven't happened yet. It is formed using will plus the base form of the verb to express an action that will happen in the future. Here are the examples. Will plus walk, will walk. Will plus talk, will talk. Will plus eat, will eat. Example sentence. I will walk in the park tomorrow. I will eat pizza for dinner. I will talk to her later. I hope it's clear. Now, let us have an example for first conditional sentence. Try to analyze the meaning and the structure of the example sentence. If I receive my salary, I will buy you a new phone. I will buy you a new phone if I receive my salary. First part is if I receive my salary, which is the condition. It uses the signal word if in the clause, and we use the simple present verb receive. Then, for the second part is I will buy you a new phone, which is the result. We use the simple future verb will buy to express possibility of happening in the future. This is first conditional because it talks about possibility of happening in the future if the condition is met. That is, if I receive my salary, the result would be I will buy you a new phone, or vice versa. Again, notice that we did not use comma to separate the parts when we interchange their positions in the sentence. Let us have more examples. In case Grandpa forgets his wallet, I will call Dad to get it. I will call Dad to get it in case Grandpa forgets his wallet. Again, we have two parts here. First part is in case Grandpa forgets his wallet, which is the condition. It uses the signal word in case in the clause, and we use the simple present verb forgets. The second part is I will call Dad to get it, which is the result. We use the simple future verb will call to express possibility of happening in the future. This is first conditional because it talks about possibility of happening in the future if the condition is met. That is, in case Grandpa forgets, the result would be I will call Dad to get it, or vice versa. Again, we did not use comma to separate the parts when we interchange the positions of the result and the condition in the sentence. Let's try this last example. As soon as I finish my homework, I will play my favorite video game. I will play my favorite video game as soon as I finish my homework. We have two parts here. First part is as soon as I finish my homework, which is the condition. It uses the signal word as soon as in the clause, and we use the simple present verb finish. The second part is I will play my favorite video game, which is the result. We use the simple future verb will play to express possibility of happening in the future. This is first conditional because it talks about a high possibility of happening in the future if the condition is met. That is, as soon as I finish my homework, the result will be I will play my favorite video game, or vice versa. Again, we did not use comma to separate the parts when we interchange their positions in the sentence. Can you still follow? It's time for you to try. Give me your own example. That's great! You did it right. The next type is second conditional. It is used in dealing with things impossible in the present and are unlikely to occur in the future. We use this if we wanted to express impossible, imaginary, or unlikely situations. It is formed using this structure. First part, the signal word if to form the dependent clause plus simple past tense of the verb to express the condition. Second part, the result, we will use would plus the base form of the verb for the main clause. Base form of the verb is the original form of the verb without any endings. The question now is, how do we form the simple past tense of the verb? Simple past tense talks about actions that already happened. We form the simple past tense of regular verbs by adding d or ed or changing y to I and add ed at the end of each verbs. Look at this table. Ending in e, add d, like the verbs leave, lived, stare, stared. Ending in vowel plus y, add ed, stay, stayed, play, played. Ending in consonant plus y, change y to I and add ed. Try, tried, carry, carried. One syllable, single vowel, and ending in single consonant, double the final consonant and add ed. Nod, nodded. Rip, ripped. Two syllable, stress on second syllable, and ending in single consonant, double the final consonant and add ed. Commit, committed. Prefer, preferred. This is only applicable for regular verbs. For irregular verbs, we form their simple past tense by undergoing some changes. Let us take a look at this table. Base form be, simple past was, were. Beat, beat, become, became, begin, began, bet, bet, bite, bit, break, broke, bring, brought, build, built, burn, burnt. Is that understood? Let us now have examples for second conditional sentence. If I were a boy, I would do everything to please my girl. I would do everything to please my girl if I were a boy. We have two parts here. First part is if I were a boy, which is the condition. It uses the signal word if in the clause and we use the simple past verb were. Second part is I would do everything to please my girl, which is the result. We used would plus the verb do, which is in the base form. This is a second conditional because it talks about a situation that is unlikely or impossible to happen in the present or even in the future. Let's say it's just an imaginary thought to be a boy if you are really a girl. Notice that we did not use comma to separate the parts when we interchange the positions of the clauses in the sentence. I would do everything to please my girl if I were a boy. Another example. If it rained food, I would open my mouth to eat. I would open my mouth to eat if it rained food. Again, we have two parts here. First part is if it rained food, which is the condition. It uses the signal word if in the clause and we use the simple past verb rained. Second part is I would open my mouth to eat, which is the result. We used would plus verb open, which is in the base form. This is second conditional because it talks about a situation that is very impossible to happen. It's just an imaginary thought to rain food outside. Notice that we did not use comma to separate the parts when we interchange the positions of the clauses in the sentence. I would open my mouth to eat if it rained food. Let's have another example. Last example. If I saw a genie, I would wish for a lot of money. I would wish for a lot of money if I saw a genie. Again, we have two parts here. First part is if I saw a genie, which is our condition. It uses the signal word if in the clause and we use the simple past verb saw. Second part is I would wish for a lot of money, which is the result. We use would plus the verb wish, which is in the base form. This is second conditional because it talks about a situation that is very impossible to happen. Genies are not real, so we don't have any chance to meet them. Note that we did not use comma to separate the parts when we interchange the positions of the clauses in the sentence. Did you get it? I hope so. Time to make your own sentence for the second conditional. Wow, those are really impossible things. The last type is the third conditional. It is used in dealing with things or change in past scenario yielding to different results. Third conditional is used to talk about the past. We talked about a condition in the past that did not happen. That is why there is no possibility for the result to happen. Like the saying, we cannot change the past. Let's say third conditionals are those things that we regret in the past because we did or we did not do them. It is formed using this structure. First part, we use the word if to form the dependent clause plus a past perfect tense of the verb to express the condition. Then for the second part, to form the result, we use would have plus a past participle of the verb for the main clause. Now, the question would be, how do we form the past perfect tense of the verb? Past perfect tense talks about an action that was completed before in the past. To form the past perfect tense of the verb, we use had plus the past participle of the verbs. Had walked equals had walked. Had plus talked equals had talked. Had eaten, had eaten. Example sentences. She had walked inside the room before I arrived. We had talked before we came here. I had eaten lunch before I went home. Is that understood? I hope so. Let's have an example for third conditional. If I had won the lottery, I would have bought a car. I would have bought a car if I had won the lottery. We have two parts here. First part is if I had won the lottery, which is the condition. It uses the signal word if in the clause, and we used had won, which is a past perfect tense. Second part is I would have bought a car, which is the result. We used would have plus the verb bought, which is the past participle of the verb buy. This is third conditional because we talked about a condition in the past that did not happen, which is winning the lottery. That is why there is no possibility for the result to happen, which is to buy a car. Note that we did not use comma to separate the parts when we interchange the positions of the clauses in the sentence. I would have bought a car if I had won the lottery. For our last example, if I had finished my studies, I would have been a doctor. I would have been a doctor if I had finished my studies. We have two parts here. First part is if I had finished my studies, which is the condition. It uses the signal word if in the clause, and we used had finished, which is a past perfect tense. Second part is I would have been a doctor, which is the result. We used would have plus the verb been, which is the past participle of the verb be. This is third conditional because we talked about a condition in the past that did not happen, which is finishing her studies. That is why there is no possibility for the result to happen, which is to be a doctor. Again, please note that we do not use comma to separate the parts when we interchange the positions of the clauses in the sentence. Is it clear? Give me your own example of a third conditional sentence. Very good, you did it right. To summarize our lesson, here are the types of conditional sentence. Zero conditional, we use it to express general truths or facts. First conditional is to express a condition that has a high possibility of happening in the future. Second conditional, we use this if we wanted to express impossible, imaginary, or unlikely situations. And the third conditional, we talked about a condition in the past that did not happen. That is why we ended up regretting for its result. Now that you have learned it, let us do a simple practice. Are you ready? Practice what you have learned by identifying the type of conditional used in each sentence. You may start now. I guess you're done. Here are the correct answers. Did you get it all, the correct answers? I hope you did. To further enhance your learning of our lesson, here are the tasks that you have to accomplish for this lesson. Learning Task 1, sharing personal thoughts. 2. Supplying correct conditionals to complete the statement. Learning Task 3, what is conditionals? 4. Reading conversation and answer the questions that follow. 8. Identifying types of conditionals. 10. Composing a short lyrics using the music or rhythm of your favorite song. And for your performance task 2, on a shorthand paper, compose 3 sentences for each type of conditionals. You may also refer to your WHLP. This is The learning task 1. All you have to do is to share your thoughts by filling each box with your personal responses. Copy and answer. This is the learning task 2. Choose the letter of the correct answer. Write the answers only on your paper. Learning task 3. You have to answer the following questions. Write the answers only. For learning task 4, you have to read the conversation, then answer the following questions below. Write the answers only. For learning task 8, you have to identify what is being asked in each item. Write the answers only. For this task 10, you have to compose your own lyrics using the tune or rhythm of your chosen song. Choose a topic from the list below. Write your answers only. For your performance task 2, on a short bond paper, you have to compose 3 example sentences for each type of conditionals. So those are your learning tasks. Good luck, children! Thank you for joining our class today. Goodbye!